can really be solved in a single practice, it sounds like. But it does seem to me, based on what you've told us today, is that only through a deep understanding of the self as it really is, as opposed to this illusion that you framed up, could we actually arrive at some answers about like what's actually right for each and every one of us.
Yeah. I mean, there's one generic answer that I think can be extracted both from psychedelics and from meditation, and just from thinking more clearly about the nature of our lives. And it's to become more process oriented and to be more and more sensitive to the mirage-like character of achieving our goals. Right now, I'm not against achieving goals. I have a lot of goals. I'm very busy. There are lots of things I want to get done, and I'm as satisfied as anyone to finish a project. But if you look at the time course of all of that, fulfillment, and there are a few lessons everyone I think has to draw. One is most of your life is spent in the process, right? Like the moment at which the goal is fully conquered, that is just, that has it's a tiny duration, and it has a very short half-life, and the moment you arrive at it, it begins to recede, because in the meantime you have all these other goals that have appeared on the horizon. You've got people asking what you're going to do next, and you in some sense, if you're focused on goals, you can never arrive, right? And I think what we're all looking for in life, whether we're ever thinking about taking psychedelics or practicing something like meditation, we're looking for good enough reasons to let our attention fully rest in the present, right? Now, that is the logic of success. Like the sense, like I've got all these things I want to do. If I could just get rich enough or fit enough or, dial in my sleep well enough or, improve my life in all these ways, get the right relationship. Wouldn't it be great to be married? Or, I want to start a family. I want all of these things. Why do I want these things? Right? I want these things because I'm telling myself, it's not that all of those things are wonderful, right? I'm not discounting those relative forms of happiness or sources of happiness, because it's all completely valid it's completely valid to want those things. But in the one thing is absolutely clear: it's possible to be miserable in the presence of all of those things, right? And you can add great wealth and fame and everything on top of that. It's possible to be absolutely miserable having everything anyone could seemingly want, right? You just have to open a newspaper to see people living out that predicament, right? Spectacularly wealthy, famous, healthy, successful people who could do anything they want in life, apparently, and yet they're doing this thing that is completely dysfunctional and making them needlessly miserable. I won't name names.
Well, there are enough of them out
some
there.
people come to mind at the moment. So there is a clear dissociation between having everything and happiness that's possible, and it's also possible to have very little, and almost nothing, and to be quite happy. I mean, you might not have met these people, but I have met people who have spent 10 years alone in a cave, right? And they come out of that cave not floridly neurotic or psychotic. They come out of that cave beaming with compassion and joy. And it's like they've been taking MDMA for 10 years, essentially, and they come out of the cave and now they're going to talk about it, right? And I'm not necessarily recommending that project to anyone, but I'm just saying that is a psychological possibility. So you have a double dissociation here, whether you can have everything and be miserable, you can have nothing and be beaming with happiness. So what is it that we actually want in all of our seeking to arrange the props in our lives and the story, to have a convincing enough story to tell about ourselves that we're doing the right thing? What is all of that effort predicated on? Is predicated on this desire and this expectation that if we could get all of this stuff in the right place, and not have anything terrifying to worry about, right? Everyone we love is healthy for the moment, right? And we're healthy, and we've got something to look forward to on the weekend, and there's not a plumbing leak in the house that we have to immediately respond to, and we like our house, and our career is going fine, and there's something good to watch on Netflix, and we have all of it, right? Now, can we just actually give up the war, right? Can we fully locate our sense of well-being in the present moment? Can we relax the impulse to brood about the past or think anxiously about the future for long enough to discover that all of this here is enough, right? Because our life is, we have this finite resource of, we absolutely have the finite resource of time, but within the finite resource, the continuum of time, we have the even more precious resource of free attention that can find our fulfillment in the present, right? And because even if we're guarding our time to do the things that are most important to us, we can spend all of that time regretting the past or anxiously expecting the future, and just bouncing between past and future in our thinking about ourselves and our lives, and basically just dancing over the present and never making contact with it, right? So I think what we want is a circumstance where attention can be located in the present in a way that's truly fulfilling. And unless you have had some kind of radical insight that allows you to do that on demand, you are, in some sense, hostage to the circumstances of your life to do that for you. You're constantly trying to engineer a state of the world that will propagate back on a state of self that will make the present moment good enough. And what meditation does, and psychedelics to some degree does this, but meditation very directly does this, it reverses the causality and lets you actually change state such that you can be fulfilled before anything happens, right? Your happiness is no longer predicated on the next good thing happening. You can be in the presence of the next good or bad thing already being fulfilled and already being at peace. I think they're misleading nouns. We can throw it at what is left there, but it is, tranquility, peace, freedom, lack of contraction, lack of conflict. All of that can be more and more of a default. And all of that is also compatible with deciding, why not get in shape? Why not engage this project? Why not, change your career? It's not that you need to be somebody who accept, to your point, you can notice all of these non-optimal things, because no matter how much you meditate, you're very likely going to spend a lot of your time still lost in thought, still identified with it, and still caring about the difference between dysfunction and normativity in your life, right? And it's just, the question is, what can you locate when? The question it's like, how much can you puncture that seeking happiness project with the recognition that you're already free, right? That's what meditation makes possible. You can keep just 1,000 times a day letting some daylight into this search space, and so but it is still compatible. Like working out is a great frame in which to look at this, because in working out, when you really work out, I'm thinking mostly of, it's anything, but it's resistance training or cardio or something like jiu-jitsu. You're intentionally putting yourself in classically unpleasant circumstances physiologically. So if you were if you imagine what it's like to do anything to failure, right? Well, if you just check in on what that is like at the level of sensation, that is basically it feels like a medical emergency, right? If you were having that experience for some other reason, like if you woke up in the middle of the night and felt what it feels like to be deadlifting, on your 10th rep on a set where you're going to, you would fail at 11, right? Like that is just, that's an emergency. But because you understand what you're doing in the gym and you've sought it out, and like it's actually something you like doing, right? And you can get a real dopamine, hit from doing it. That what you're doing when you're doing that is you're owning a kind of like you're actually transforming a classically negative experience into something that's almost intrinsically positive, right? Certainly the net on it is positive. You can do that, and being able to do that is more and more the experience of being actually at peace, even while exerting really intense effort in one direction. So you can be straining and I'm sure physiologically showing a lot of stress. I mean, I'm sure that, cortisol is up and blood pressure's up, heart rate is certainly up. So it's like, it's as far as the body is concerned, is stress as far as the eye can see, but you really can be deeply equanimous and at peace because of the frame around it, because of the concepts attached to it, because you know what you're doing, you know why it's happening, and you want it. So that's an attitude you can bring into other stressful things that take effort to accomplish. And so it's not that you just need to be a pushover when you learn how to meditate or when you take MDMA or you work on yourself in any of these ways. But what I think you want to find is you want to find your point of rest in the midst of any struggle.